point out here, and there is one in here. Sometimes you could have a decimal point here and no decimal points in here. Because numbers can happen however they happen. You don't know in your life what kind of problem you may come up with. You may have 542 things or people. You want to give them each 70 cents. How many people can you give 70 cents to equally? You might want to know that. You might have 35 cents and these little things that don't even make up pennies, and you got 7 people you want to divide it by. Or you may have this much and you want to divide it by 70 cents. You don't know what the problem might be. You have to be able to solve it. And the rule says if there is no decimal in the divisor, that's the number that you are dividing by. If there is no decimal here, just take the decimal in here, move it straight up. Then you don't have to worry about it anymore. Just divide around it. 7 won't go into 3. Now in whole numbers I wouldn't have to put a 0 here, but I do after this decimal because it's holding a place. If I don't put a 0 here, this number here that's supposed to be pennies is now going to be over here where the dimes are.
Oh, I see.
So you have to put a 0 between a decimal point and a number.
If you can't do
A
it.
0 has to be there to hold the place. Just like here, I don't have to put a 0 there to say that's 2. But if I wanted to say 20, I got to put a 0 there to move that 2 into the 20's place, into the 10's place, you see.
Okay.
Decimals is the other way around. If I don't put a 0 here, I'm saying, right here I'm saying I have 3 dimes, 7 people. I cannot give any of them dimes if I only have 3. That's how you have to understand it. I'm going to change those 3 dimes into 30 pennies. Plus the 5 pennies I already had, now I have 35 pennies. I can give them each 5 pennies. You see? That uses up all 35 of them. Now I got 4 things that make pennies. 7 people, I can't give them any of those. Right? I change those into 40 of those things, because you remember 10 of these, everything's 10. If I change them, I got 40 of those. Plus the 2 that I had, now I got 42 of them. I can give them each 6 of those. And use it all up. Okay? Zeros have to be there when they are a placeholder. Here, if there is a decimal here in the divisor, first thing you have to do is make this number into a whole number. In other words, I can't divide by a decimal using this formation. I'd have to change these into fractions and follow the rules for dividing by fractions. So instead of that, if I make this into a whole number, and I can do that by moving this decimal from here to here, now that's a whole 7, isn't it? When the decimal point is over here, that's 7 whole dollars, right? Instead of when it's here, that's 7 dimes. I moved it from here to here and turned 7 dimes into $7. If you do that, you're changing that problem. I have now multiplied this number by 10 by moving it one place over. I've multiplied 70 cents. 70 cents times 10 will give me $7. I've multiplied that by 10. But if I multiply this number by 10,
You gotta multiply the other one.
also move this over and multiply it by 10, my answer should be the same. Because look at this. 5 goes into 25 how many times? If I multiply this by 10, as long as I also multiply this by 10, 50 goes into 250 how many times? If I multiply this by 100, as long as I also multiply this by 100, my answer is still going to be 5, right? So as long as I do the same thing to this one and this one, my answer is going to still be correct. But you have to make this one into a whole number. If this had been I'd have to move this one 1, 2, 3 times. You have to move it as many times as you need to get it to the end of that number, because it has to be a whole number out here that you're dividing by. You cannot divide by a decimal. But every time you move this one, you are multiplying that number by another power of 10. When I move this 3 times, I'm changing 7 things that aren't even pennies yet into $7. I've multiplied this number by 1,000. So as long as I also multiply this one by 1,000, and then put it right up in the answer, my answer is going to be the correct answer. Once you move it, put it straight up in your answer, and then just divide around it. Now I just have 7 into 35. Notice I didn't have to put the 0 here because 0, 5, and 5 mean the same thing in whole numbers. Just go on and divide around it. Once the decimal is placed in your answer, then don't worry about it anymore. Just look at the numbers then. Just look at the numbers and divide with the numbers the way you would normally. Questions about dividing, multiplying. Okay, take out paper and pencil. I want you to do some to make sure you understand it. Also, there's some paper up here on this table. You can move to a table so you can write, and there are, you might have to draw on pencil. I don't see that pencil box. Or they're probably over on that table over there. There's probably pencil. On page 83, and the books are back on that bookshelf in that room. It's a thick one that says math. They have thin ones, but you want the thick one. And it's green. Turn to page 83.
Back here, that's the only thing I see is a pen.
You can use that if you want. I want you to do number 2, the first and the second one, on page 83.
Someone already did it.
In the book.
Yeah, somebody wrote in the book.
Go change books. Is it in pencil? Erase it for us.
Alright.
And then we'll get another book, but don't try to write the answer down. Page 83.
No, it's pen.
No, once you know it. Page 83, number 2, both parts of it. And when you're done with that, number 2 on the next page, 84 as well. Number 2 on page 83, number 2 on page 84.
This is the only book left.
Okay, we'll go on and just do it anyway. And number 2 on page 87. So that's 6 problems, there's 2 problems on each one. Yep, 83, 84, 87. Number 2, number 2, number 2.
So do what?
Both of them on number 2, on 83, 84, 87.
83. I won't do 83, but I'll do 84 and 87.
Okay. Okay. 84, 83, 84, 87. Is just adding them. Line up the decimal points and add them up. 83 and 84, same thing. Line up the decimal points and add them up. two. First, you gotta write them to make sure when you write them, you're writing them the way they need to be. That's 16. Remember where it needs to go. Think of money, and how would you add up if it was $16, $9.24, and $170.30? How would you line it up?
So if it doesn't have a decimal in front of it, so
Okay, if it's $16, where would you put a decimal?
behind it.
Anything that's whole, you're gonna put it like it's whole dollars. And you can add zeros there, and that'll make it look better to you, and make it easier to add them up. And that's what we're talking about. That's why you gotta be here on 5, cause we get started.
I
It's a lot.
know, but my
I know.
job. I
You're not the
can't-
only person.
Yeah.
I understand. But we usually review it afterwards anyway. We're gonna go over it together, and we don't have to get it the first time. We do it more than once.
But
Hmm.
is that right?
Yeah,
I mean,
both of
then
them
I-
too.
Huh?
Both of those two number twos.
Okay.
But yeah, I haven't looked at the answer yet.
This, oh, you mean like side by side? now?
Mhm.
Okay.